How's it going, everyone? I hope you're all well. Here we have the NieR Automata YoRHa 2B from PlayArts Kai. So this is the deluxe version. The only difference on the packaging side of things, as far as I'm aware, it just has a deluxe version sticker. This is a pretty large figure. The PlayArts Kai figures are a bit big, so the box barely fits into the frame. But once you get it out of the box, it should fit into the frame much better. So we're going to show you the packaging and then we'll go through the actual figure itself. So I don't really tend to look at PlayArts Kai that much or buy them so much, just because I think they're a little bit expensive for what they are. But this 2B figure looked really cool, so I thought I'm gonna pick this one up. So this actually just came out recently, and I can't remember how much I paid for it. Probably around 12,000 yen, maybe around 15,000. But yeah, it's not too cheap. It's not the most value for money like merchandise figure in my opinion. But depending on the property from PlayArts Kai, usually Final Fantasy stuff, the figures can come out quite well. So this is the packaging so far. As you see, it's pretty matte black on the outside, and then once you open the window here, you've got nice artwork of the figure itself, kind of being inspired by the game itself, and then a nice window display with that whole kind of glitch effect going around, showing you 2B there and then alternate faces that it comes with. This is a deluxe version, so there are some differences compared to the normal version in terms of the figure. I think it can take like the dress off or something like that. A bit weird, personally speaking, but it should be that difference, I think, and so maybe some other minor differences as well. But otherwise, yeah, matte black finish on the packaging, which is gonna show a little bit of scratches and dirt, sadly. So if you're really into pristine stuff and you're gonna import it, it's gonna be a bit of potluck there. But otherwise, pretty clean, generally speaking. I like the simple look of this packaging. So I'm gonna try and get this thing open now. So I've taken the 2B figure out of the box and all the option parts. Now I've actually already assembled it, but for the sake of this video, because it doesn't quite fit into the frame, I've reduced the height of the pod and the blades behind. So actually it should look something like this in the real kind of height and scale. Now 2B comes with different pairs of hands, so you've got fairly relaxed hands already attached to the figure, and then you've got a pair that allow you to grab hold of the blades. You can dual wield if you want to. So these look like, so you've got the glove details here, and then you can see the finger curved around there with the thumb extended. So you can use either one. If you want to use the big blade, you can use two hands on the big sword as well. If you want to use just a single blade, you can do that as well. And then you can just alternate however you like. The other pair of hands is just going to be like this, which is going to be more open palm hands versus the one that I already applied or attached to the figure already. So you can see these here nicely. I'm going to put it to the side so you can see it on a white background. So you can see the detail black and white. So it's quite good actually on the same detail on all the hands. Now the paint on this does crack a bit and kind of flake off. And that happens with the hands and then the actual main body of the figure. That happened with my Zack Fair figure as well. So I think it's just a PlayArts kind of thing at this point. So far, nothing too disastrous, but it does happen. You'll see maybe black flaky bits along this display here, maybe. So 2B also comes with additional faces like so. But first, the original face you can see there, the most iconic look for 2B is the one with a patch running across the face and exposing the bottom half of her face. Then you get a similar one, which is like so, same with the patch again or bandana. And then that's covering both eyes, but then this one's got the mouth open expression. It's a fully sculpted mouth. You can see the tongue is actually fully sculpted. It's not just a caved in shape and then painted. It's actually fully sculpted, which is really cool. But otherwise, it captures the same little tiny spot detail there that she has on the original face. And the other final alternate head is without that and exposing both eyes, which is really nicely sculpted. When it comes to play art figures, when it's their own IP, i.e. Final Fantasy and I guess NieR in this case, I think their face sculpts can be quite good. Not always perfect, but they lean towards really much better quality, I would say, on their own IP. So this is no different. I think this face sculpt has come out well. The ears are actually done as well, even though you're not going to see the ears once this in the actual headpiece and covering it by the hair. You don't really see it, but they've still done it for this face piece here. But this is how this looks, and I'll show you how to swap that later. And because this is the deluxe version of the figure, you do get the unskirted or undressed version of the bottom part of the torso or the hip, groin area, crotch area. I think it's a little bit perverted, but you do get this one, and it's something that they kind of add to certain versions of the figure. I think you've got like actual static figures of this figure that come in two versions of with the full dress and then an alternate version where you can either get this or it's like removable. For example, Prime 1 Studios, amazing looking statue that they've got, 3-piece statue, and one of the deluxe versions is you get this as an alternate. You can remove the dress. Stunning looking statue, absolutely stunning. I wish I had the space and the money for that. It's absolutely gorgeous. Prime 1, love their stuff. But yeah, this is the version that you get. It's not something that you can't remove the skirt. You have to actually swap the whole thing. And I'll show you how to do that. It's not too difficult. It might be frustrating to some people, but it can be done. But this is how this looks. I'm going to show you this now, and then I probably won't focus on it too much later. But basically, you remove the top half of the body there, I'm going to attach it here. This isn't a cap or anything. This is actually what it sits on, which is interesting. And you can see the joint like so. So even if you don't use this, this is a cool kind of look at how the actual joint works fully. Because typically this would actually be a ball joint for the 6-inch action figures that I normally do. And then that fits into the actual like chest piece. So this is different. And then the leg stuff is kind of the same. So actually, given that this has no skirt, I can kind of show you the full range of motion here better. It uses kind of the ratchet thing with the PlayArts kite. I'm not a huge fan of them, but given the size of them, it's just going to add a little bit more stability. Whereas if it was just on a ball joint, the figures will probably collapse. So it splits around there, showing you the backside as well. So Yoko is a big fan of showing NieR's butt. I think what was his reason for doing it? He was just like, just because he likes the butt, right? That was basically it. Moving it forward, you can do that. So it's again ratchet like so. With obviously you can't see too much because the leg's there, but let's just assume my finger is the leg, like that, and then you can just kind of do the splits a little bit like so. So appreciate it doesn't show it too much detail really because of the legs are not attached, but it's a little bit more restricted naturally because of the skirt once you use that version of that piece of the body. But without it, you can get a little bit more motion if you use this piece. So I'm going to turn the figure around a bit just so you can have a better look at the swords. And you'll notice that 2B I've put onto the actual stand as well, because even though she's got heels, well, she's got heels so she doesn't balance, especially because of the ankles. But we'll go into that more detail later. So on the back, you can see the 2 blades that this figure comes with and the pod there. Apologies if you can't see from top to bottom fully if they don't fit in the frame, but I will take them apart anyway to show in a bit more detail. Yeah, but once you actually attach it, you're going to want to straighten this up a bit to align it with the 2B figure more accurately. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to just bring them down a bit. So basically, you get the Virtuous double blades. So you get the Virtuous Contract and the Virtuous Treaty. I may have mixed up the names. So these are one of the best, or 2 of the best weapons in the game. Really depends how you play the game. I think I pretty much used to use this sword pretty much, or the black equivalent version of it. And then you get the pod here. So I'm going to bring that further even more. So you get the pod 042 over here as well. So let's start with the pod first. So you can see it's connected with a transparent kind of stick shaft here up into the bottom of the pod. And that connects to this kind of piece here. It's a little bit convoluted in my opinion. This should have been a little bit more simplified and straightforward, but that's how they've done it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take pod 042 off. So this is pod 042 that accompanies 2B in the game NieR Automata. Actually, just a reminder, I might end up saying some spoilers in this video, so don't hate me on that. The game's been out for a while. But yeah, this is pod 042. And I love the way this looks. I love the aluminium kind of finish to it. The box looks amazing, turned out fantastic in my opinion. Love that metallic look that's going on throughout this whole thing, and then the bronze as well around certain areas in the arms. Really lovely looking little piece. And here you can see the bottom is that little peg hole that I just removed it from. So you can move different points of this figure a little bit here. This can actually come off like so. Just put that back in. Try not to lose it. It's a little bit of a tiny piece. And then you've got some articulation at the arm here. These arms can come off here, so if they do come off, just plug them back in. It's just a simple peg. The teeny arm here with my fingers pointing, you can move that, but beware of the tiny little fingers, as you can see there. Same with the right arm there. There's very tiny little fingers and quite fragile. So if you are going to move this arm, I would do it from behind and don't try to touch or pull from the front, because the fingers may end up breaking and that would be quite sad. So you've got the arm joint movement in there. You've got another movement here. You can see this is also on a peg, so you can actually remove that, or it might come off anyway as you maneuver it. And then you got rotation also down below like so. So you've got a few different points to move and maneuver the 2 arms, or 4 arms if you count the teeny mini ones as well. So really cool addition to have with this 2B figure. I think it's necessary to have it because it does accompany 2B for the whole game. So really cool. Love the way this has turned out in general. Amazing looking metallic little box. So coming back around to the blades again, you can see they fit into this little contraption here, which the pod was on. I think this could have been simplified a lot. It's not hard to put it on, it just looks a bit clunky. But here we'll show you the 2 blades and how they sit into things. So I'm going to lift this up as well. So you can see there's a slot there, and the blade will just slot in as I showed you, removing it just like so. Same thing for the big sword as well. And then these 2 ring things as well, 2 different sizes. I may have actually swapped these around, but 2 different ring sizes that are on little pegs that fit into these little plastic holders here. A little bit convoluted in my opinion, but it is what it is. Once you've got it posed and displayed, you're gonna not really see that because this should always be behind the 2B figure anyway. But that's pretty much how it is. It's quick and easy to do, but just a little bit not clean in my opinion. But let's show you the blade itself. So this is the Virtuous Contract, I believe it is. Apologies if I get that mixed up. I like the detail and the finish of the blade as well. So not just the pod 042 that turned out well, these additional parts of the weapons look great as well. I do feel some bits look a little bit kind of lacking. Like here you can see the little wraps kind of seem a bit more incomplete or rushed with the paint. But generally speaking, the blade itself looks great. I love the handle. The handle has turned out amazing. It looks super great. Really nice detail there with the wrapping around there. And then you've got the guard as well, which looks amazing. Nice detail, nice sculpting as well throughout. Coming down to the blade, which looks absolutely amazing. Hopefully this is focusing well. There's a lot with this figure, so I'm not sure if it's focusing. But yeah, you can see, or hopefully see, how nice and clean this white blade is. And then you got the tassel bit. Now this is the only real nitpicky bit. The tassel I feel could have just been real fabric. It's just plastic. But they have real links here. So if you've seen my bring art videos, I do complain that they don't use links sometimes. And like say Kingdom Hearts figures, they don't use links for the key charm bits and the keyblades. But here they've used links, which is good. But I think they could have made this a little bit nicer by having white tassels. That would have been really, really nice just to finish off this blade. Well, perfectly in my opinion. This blade looks really nice overall. Try not to get it dirty. Pretty sturdy. Shouldn't snap, hopefully. To put it into the hand, you just pull off the handle there and then insert the handle into whichever hand you want to use and then apply it back on. Oh yeah, by the way, the rope bit here, the effect on the rope looks really cool here. Really minor detail, but yeah, nice detail to that blade. Let me come on to the Virtuous Treaty, I believe it's called. Once again, apologies if I've mixed up the names. So this is a massive blade. This is really a huge blade, but it's so awesome. Like, look at it. This is a beautiful blade. Beautiful. Even in the game, it's a stunning, gorgeous looking blade. Incredibly impractical, but it's a video game, so I don't really care, right? Absolutely stunning looking weapon. You know, this is great as well, but this is kind of, you know, you've seen a sword like that all the time, but this bad boy is just, oh man, this is a beaut. This is a beauty. Just, yeah, I want you guys to appreciate this amazing blade. Now, there is a Bring Arts version, i.e. a smaller version of this 2B figure, which comes with this as well. But this is a different scale, and this is bigger, and therefore better, I hope. But yeah, this actual Virtuous Treaty looks stunning. Really, really stunning. Let's just go through that. So we got the handle here, so coming from the top down to the handle and then to the guard as well. Really, really intricate, detailed guard, you can see. Just absolutely fantastic looking blade, really well done, and has come out quite well. People may argue or may have preferred, say, more metallic kind of job or gunmetal kind of metallic happening, a bit like the metallic finish with the pod happening in certain details, but I would say it's generally quite good. I'm quite happy with the way this has turned out, and then it's just a really nice looking blade, you can see. And then just, you know, if you've seen a lot of my videos, you know how big my hands are at this point. Not very big, the average size, but that should hopefully give you an indication how big this blade actually is. It stands much taller than the actual figure, which is now not even going to be on frame, but the figure is 25 centimeters. This is taller, so it gives you a good indication of how big this blade really is. Just a stunning blade. Really, really stunning blade. Absolutely stunning. So enough about the blade. Let's go into the figure. So before I get into full details of the figure, I'm just going to quickly bring out my PlayArts Zack Fair just to quickly show you, because I'll probably forget afterwards. So this is Zack Fair from Final Fantasy VII, and this is 2B. Obviously, this is one we're talking about now. This is the only other PlayArts Kai figure that I've actually bothered to unbox in years, and this is the last one I did a video of. I love this figure, I love the way it turned out, but you can kind of see the scaling of them. But let's get rid of Zack Fair and continue on with 2B. I need to move these amazing little swords out there, or big swords out of the way. Right, so with the figure, we're going to start from top to bottom with details, and then we'll go through the articulation and then swapping some parts. Now, in terms of detail, the figure, I think, has come out quite well. Real nice attention to detail. As much as I don't like the Bring Arts figures from Square Enix, the PlayArts seem to have a lot more care going into them. I don't know if it's because they're much more protective and much more careful and just focus a little bit more on certain IP, like I mentioned, Final Fantasy, and maybe NieR in this case, or it just happens to be a random case of a good looking figure. But either way, this is a very nice looking figure, and as you can see, sculpting wise, detail wise, very, very stunning looking from the top to bottom. So we're going with the hair first. You can see the band, and with the band across the hair, and then a kind of layered hair style that 2B has. Very nice looking. We talked about the face before as well. There's not really a lot to talk about the face because most of it's covered anyway. But yeah, quite good otherwise. We come down to the clothing. So 2B does pretty much wear only black clothes, but they have nice kind of pattern details on them. So you've got the chest piece there, which has a nice pattern there, and slight exposure, I guess, because yeah, it's exposed. And then you've got the stitching detail going throughout as well. You've got the puffy shoulder pieces around here, and then we'll kind of go around and down as well. So you've got the opening on the back of the dress, and then you've got the pattern as well. Again, stitching down the seams as well, which is nice attention to detail. Lots of attention to detail. Even though it's a black costume, there's a lot of attention to detail here. Coming down to the side, you've got the kind of ribbon bit down here, detail there. And then this actually does articulate a little bit here, but you've got a ribbon here, which is cool. And then with the arms, you've got the feathered sleeves or cuffs on both sides of the arms, which is great attention to detail again. And then coming and finishing with the white gloved arms or hands that we saw previously, but this time with the slightly relaxed hands, as you can see there. So really nicely sculpted stuff there, nicely painted as well. You can see some sort of kind of blemishes on there, but I'm not surprised with that. It's pretty much a black figure for the most part, so you're going to have some kind of stainage, but they don't really detract too much. Once you've got it in display, you're not really going to see that. Then we come to the bottom side of the dress. You can see all the detail going around there. As you can see, I'll show you that all the way around. So really lovely attention to detail here. It just captures it really nicely. I'm not sure if the Bring Art's captured all that detail just because of the scale. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But very nice attention to detail otherwise for this figure. And then we kind of go further down to the legs. You can see the tights on here. You've got to remove the legs and then swap it with the one where you want to see her butt if you want to do that. I will show you that, to be honest. But yeah, remove the legs at the thigh here. There's a cut you can see. And then swap them over. Then you've got the thigh-high boots and ending with the heels there. Like so. I'll show you the back side of the heels too and the boots. You can see the laces there and then the heel ending there. Yes, you can see it underneath the skirt, but I'm not going to show you that because you've seen it pretty much there before. But in terms of detail, this figure definitely looks amazing. I really like the way that this figure has turned out in terms of looks department. I think it looks very, very solid. Any 2B fan out there really is going to appreciate this figure for sure, 100%. But let's go through the articulation then. Head movement with this figure is fantastic. She doesn't have amazingly long hair to kind of stop any like movement of the head, so it's fantastic head movement all around. And then you got the neck movement incorporated there, which is great for 2B. Really, really great. Love the head articulation there. In terms of the arms, these can go around and up and around and side and pull them down. Torso does come off sometimes, and then like so. So you can get it into good motion and poses for the sword. Got a little bit of a rotation here. It might just be mine's a bit stiff, but you can see that there. Bend at the elbow like so, and then the hand. So you can get it into swiping motions or just touching her head, that kind of stuff. Then you've got the torso. The torso does come off a little bit easily, but once you've kind of got it on, you can get decent articulation. Just be careful. Yeah, it does come off a bit easy when you're trying to pose it. You might have slipped it up a bit and just slip it back on and it should be okay. Now the legs we kind of discussed earlier on with the one that doesn't have the dress on there. Because of the dress, this is going to be much more restricted now. So you can see the right leg will come out a little bit more. Just remove the tassel or ribbon if you want a little bit to expose it a bit. And then similarly, you can do that here. Always get worried with play artist joints, but you can see the split going on there. And then you've got the cut here. So this is actually where you're going to remove the leg, but it does allow extra articulation, which is actually convenient. And then you have a knee bend for 2B as well, which is nice and generous, as you can see there. It doesn't look too bad, actually. It looks quite good, to be quite honest. I've seen worse than other figures. And then we kind of come down to the ankle. The ankle is very, very teeny. It isn't the most sturdiest. So this is why I said you're going to want to use the base, because she's not going to be supported well just because of these ankles, to be quite honest. And then there's no toe hinge, sadly. So you've got decent ankle range of motion, but no toe hinge. But that's pretty much the articulation for, like I said, the torso does come off sometimes. But that is the articulation for the NieR 2B. Also, as I mentioned, you'll get paint crackling off, so you can see the paint just does flake off a bit. But articulation wise, I'm happy with it. I think it gets the job done. There is restriction going to be at the skirt, but that's to be expected. But let's swap some parts and see how that looks. So let's swap the faces first. So you're going to pull the hair off as you would with most other figures, which is at the bangs here. It might be a little bit tight or stiff for you guys, but just kind of have at it and it should come off like so. And I'm going to replace it with this face here with no bandana, no covering. This one takes a bit of time to get on for me sometimes. But here we go, got it on, plug that in. Replace the hair back as well. And there you go, you've got 2B exposing her eyes. I think this is a really nice, pretty looking face, to be quite honest. The eyes are quite good on it. And just having that hairstyle, everything looks really nice in my honest opinion. I really quite like that. And then we're going to swap a hand, and we're just going to have a hold onto the Virtuous Contract. I think it was a small blade, basically. So I showed you the blade, the hands are on here, actually, which is nice to have. You can just take it off there and replace the other hand there so you don't lose them. I'm going to actually take off this first, so you can see. So take the handle off, and then with the hand that you've got, just feed that in through the hand. This is going to be pretty similar to a lot of other figures. And then like so, attach that back, and then we can finally attach it to the main figure, which is quite straightforward and great. So the thing with the small blade is it's not too big. The torso does come off a bit sometimes. I mentioned that earlier on, but it can be annoying when you're changing hand. So the small blade is not very heavy, so it means that you can pose 2B and not have her hand drooping. But I think it shouldn't be a surprise when you use this big bad boy, beautiful bad boy, then you're going to have trouble because the hand joint, the wrist joint is not that strong. It's a little bit looser, so the hands will droop. Even if you use two hands, that could happen as well. So you're going to have to play around with the figure and the posing of it. But yeah, two hands is going to be a little bit more support for the big blade. One hand, definitely not. You're going to have some drooping happening with the big sword. But with this Virtuous Contract or the small sword, it's going to be a lot simpler. And you can see she looks great with this sword attached. Absolutely fantastic looking figure so far, minus the ankle bit there. And now we're going to change the actual skirt bit. So because I don't want to have the hand or sword get damaged, I'm going to take those off. And because it does come off sometimes quite easily, I'm going to take the top half off because it's a bit easier at that point. You need to remove the legs. The legs might take a little bit of effort to do them. Like I mentioned, you need to pull it from this cut here. Same with your leg underneath there. You need to cut it or pull it down. It might take a bit of time. Don't yank it too much, and try not to, or try to avoid having your finger on the knee bit and pulling here or at the ankle. You don't want to damage these joints. So just take your time, go slow with it, and eventually it should kind of pop off. So let's just try that one with this leg here, and hopefully you can see, and it goes nice pop there. And then do the same thing with this one. This one takes a little bit more time, so I'm actually going to do that more carefully and hopefully get this done. And we have it done. If it is a bit tricky, just kind of screw it left and right. Just take your time with it. You don't want to damage the rest of the leg accidentally. I haven't done that yet, but I'm sure some people will. But once you've got the two legs removed like so, you can replace them onto these. So this was the left leg. So just going to pop that in there into that massive kind of, like, I don't know, peg. And then that one there like so. You can see the legs attached. Now I'm going to be a pervert all over again. Attach that. I'm not going to bother attaching the hand. Actually, yes I will, because it's there. And it just gives a much different look. So without the dress skirt with the figure, 2B has a vastly different look in my opinion. Especially with the face as well, uncovered as well now. So completely different look. Obviously you are going to have some gap here, but that's going to be allowing you to have extra range of motion as well. We covered the range of motion without the dress already, so you can kind of imagine the kind of poses that she can get into. It's going to be a lot easier with this rather than with the skirt one. Now this is the deluxe version, as I mentioned, so you're not going to get this particular look with the regular version of 2B, and yeah, you're going to have to fork out, I think, a little bit extra cost as well. But this is how this one looks. So actually I like both looks, but this one does definitely make me feel a little bit more perverted. So I've covered most aspects of this figure now at this point, but going back to the packaging, which I think is overall quite nice. The inside of it, which houses the actual figure, the weapons, and then the base plate, naturally it'd be inside. The plastic that holds them is very nicely structured and arranged. It's a 3-tier approach, which I think had a lot of care into how to arrange it, which is just nice in my opinion. A little bit excess on the plastic, but maybe that's something Square Enix can think about moving forward. With the figure itself, I think it looks fantastic. Once you have 2B arranged and set up with all the deluxe parts of the small sword, big sword, and Pod 042 up on display, it's going to look super eye-catching and it just looks fantastic. The figure is really nice. In my video, I've got really harsh light, so the pattern on 2B's dress in particular might appear a little bit bronze in my video, but once you have this figure on display with natural light, with less harsh light pointing directly at the figure, you shouldn't have such a bronze looking pattern. It shouldn't really look like that. Don't trust the promo shots from Square Enix either, because their promo shots tend to be way too overly glorified compared to anything they actually come out, especially play arts and bring arts, but that's a different topic. But yeah, it does still look like a really, really fantastic figure. This is the deluxe version, so the differences again are you're going to get the big sword here, Pod 042, and of course you get the dressless part of the body as well. Now that still is a good looking thing, it looks good with that as well, but personally I don't really like raunchy figures. It's a little bit distasteful for me. It's just not for me personally. I appreciate and understand Yokotaro likes girls really, really a lot. I like girls too, but I just don't really like figures like that. But because I wanted to check out the whole deluxe package, this is why I picked it up, and this is why I'm doing the video for it. But yeah, it's not for me. Otherwise though, really great looking figure, fantastic. It does have weak ankles though, so you are going to want to make sure you use the base stand. But otherwise, I like this figure. Check out my channel for more. Otherwise, stay safe and I'll see you in the next one.